Is the government telling the truth about UFO technology? A man who claims to have worked for Area 51 is saying they are not. Today we are talking about Bob Lazar. If you Google Bob Lazar's name, you are going to come across article upon article calling this man a liar, calling him crazy, saying he's made up so many different claims, and just completely shunning his work. Now, I won't toss out the idea that there are people out there that are going to embellish and create stories of make believe, but I'm also not going to discredit the fact that the United States government is completely capable of committing cover ups. They are they have been known to manipulate information that goes with a narrative they would like to release or not release. They have the capability of making someone completely disappear as well as their entire life's work. So at the end of this video, let me know if you think Bob Lazar is an unsung hero or just a complete quack. Get comfy, snuggle up your cat or dog, and let's get started. Robert Scott Lazar was born January 26 in 1959 in Coral Gables, Florida. He has claimed to have attended MIT as well as Caltech University. And I have to say claimed because when those schools were kind of contacted to talk about Bob Lazar, they said that he never even attended. They deny, deny, deny. Bob Lazar has a documentary about him filmed by Jeremy Corbell called Bob Lazar, UFOs, and Flying Saucers. There is a documentary on Bob Lazar filmed by Jeremy Corbell called Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. This documentary is on Bob Lazar and his supposed work at Area 51. Area 51 is an infamous military base decorated with UFO, alien conspiracy theories, and government cover ups. Bob said that he worked in an underground facility off of Area 51, specifically called S4. It was about 15 miles south of Area 51. He was recruited for this position because he has said to have work with nuclear weapon development as well as physics. Bob was recruited for this program because he was working on nuclear weapon development at the time at Los Alamos. He was brought in with the understanding that he would be furthering his knowledge on advanced nuclear propulsion technology. Now, back then, there were stories, obviously, about UFOs and aliens, but Area 51 did not have the kind of claim to fame that it does today. Nobody really knew it. It was kind of underground, both figuratively and literally. So Bob really had no idea what he was signing up for. After spending some time at S4, he realized that the technology he was around and experiencing was like nothing he has ever seen before. He spoke about aircraft capabilities that he believes to this day has still yet to be understood or even replicated. He claims that one of the power sources for these alien aircrafts were some kind of anti-gravity, antimatter force. And he soon realized that his job was to kind of reverse engineer these engines and spacecrafts and kind of not only understand how that they were working, but to try and eventually duplicate it. For somebody who is said to not have these degrees in physics or the experience at Area 51, Bob's vivid description about the technologies that he saw and witnessed, as well as how things work, are so absolutely vivid and just descriptive that if he is in fact lying, Bob Lazar is probably one of the best liars out there. Bob claims that he was responsible for going over one specific aircraft that was the kind of classic disc shape, where there were also 8 other aircrafts of various shapes and sizes.
The government is holding 9 alien spacecraft that are propelled by a modified gravity generator. Uh, work is being conducted 15 miles south of Groom Lake at that isolated area only, designated as S4, that at least one of those crafts operate.
He describes one as having some kind of external damage where he believes that maybe the ship malfunctioned and that's how it ended up at Area 51. He stayed at S4 for about 6 months. During those 6 months he was there, he began to become familiar with this element that he has never seen before. He described it as being a fuel source for the aircraft, and he named this element 115. It was at the time not on the periodic chart. However, in 2003, when American and Russian scientists discovered a new element called muscovium, they realized that it was the same exact element 115 that Bob Lazar described years prior. Muscovium is an extremely reactive element that, when it decays, produces another element. It is yet to be understood. They have no idea what the use of this element is for. They're just trying to understand it at the moment. Bob has a very descriptive narrative about how the aircrafts looked on the inside. He said it is one solid pewter color. He said that there are no right angles within the craft. It all kind of just flushes together. He describes it as kind of melting into each other.
Well, it probably really hit me when I got inside the craft and looked around and began to understand how the craft was operated, and finally grasped the whole project as a whole, as what we were doing, the fact that we weren't building this thing, we were trying to find out how it was made. We were back engineering it.
He explained that everything within the craft is very foreign and none of it looks familiar. Bob also states that within the aircraft, the way that it is set up is for to be designed specifically for someone at a much smaller height. He said that someone about the size of being 3 feet tall would be able to fit comfortably within the craft. There were very small seats. There were no controls, no steering wheels, no lights, no screens, and he wasn't really sure how they kind of maneuvered this kind of car, if you will.
It would be extremely inconvenient for a human pilot. Humans really can't even function in there because of the ceiling clearance. The seats were so tiny. It was obviously made for a creature much smaller than a human.
Now, the metal on the exterior was extremely cold to touch, and the disc shape of the craft kind of allowed light to bend around it, creating this kind of camouflage look. He said that he stood underneath it at one point and he couldn't see it standing right in front of him. The way the craft maneuver is very silent. It kind of hovers. It can't just go front or back. It can go around in circles. It can kind of go up and down, straight, backwards. It's pretty crazy the way he was describing it. There were several test flights on this craft, and Bob Lazar actually took a camcorder and recorded 3 specific occurrences. Soon after, he was caught with the film of these test flights, and he began to be investigated by Area 51 staff. Now, once they kind of deep dove into his life, they realized that Bob was kind of divulging things that he was seeing at work to his wife, who actually became suspicious that Bob was cheating on her. And after he was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, he basically started telling her everything that was going on. He would have to go to Area 51 and stay overnight for days, sometimes weeks at a time, and then he would be home for a while, and then he'd get a call and have to go back. So I guess it's fair enough that she thought there was something sneaky going on, but he just was honest with her. And once people found out, they said, "You are so fired." After Bob was let go, he kind of wanted the world to know what was going on at S4 and Area 51. He wanted people to know of this advanced technology that the government was trying to understand. He also wanted to know the implications of these advancements, knowing that to have kind of this interstellar craft, there would have to be some kind of other life form controlling it. Bob never believed that this technology was from this universe, and he believed that that was kind of like thousands of years in advancements that were not capable by being obtained by just regular human beings. When Bob released all this new information, he was very fearful for not only his life, but his wife's life, his friends, his families. He didn't know the capacity of what people that were involved in Area 51 would do to him. He soon realized that his whole life's work was being manipulated and discredited, and they were calling him a liar and just taking away everything he worked so hard to achieve. Bob believes that part of the reason why the government wants to keep this kind of UFO technology from the civilians is to kind of keep peace. He knows that if people found out that there were UFOs and kind of alien existence outside of this world, he thinks that people would not take it as well. He thinks it would create this very uneasy feeling and a tense situation. Bob also believes that there's kind of a darker tone to why the government doesn't want people to know about these UFO technologies, because he thinks they want to monopolize the technology and use it for war purposes as well as to control people. And he thinks that there could be scary consequences for people knowing what's really going on. Once you master this kind of technology, you become invincible. It basically creates this impenetrable force field around it that if you were in war, you could be untouched. Bob Lazar's claims are so extravagant and kind of crazy sounding that you would think that the government wouldn't even pay attention to him. So, why are they trying to shut him up so quickly? He originally came out with this information under another name. He wanted to remain anonymous. He came out as releasing as his name as being Dennis, which was the supervisor on S4. And then he decided he just really wanted to be honest and tell the world who he is. Part of it was because he felt that if people knew who he was and what he was saying, if he disappeared, then everyone would know why. So it became kind of like this protection to him. Now, a news article kind of ran with this information when Bob Lazar first came out, and they really wanted to deep dive on who he was. So they took all the information they had on him and they did a lot of research. He claimed to have gone to MIT and Caltech University. And when the news source contacted these schools, they said they've never heard of him. He was never a student there. He never got a degree there. However, after doing some good detective work, they found yearbook photos of him. They found articles about him and papers he wrote. Same goes to Los Alamos. They basically said same thing. Never heard of him. Who's Bob Lazar? But the same news source found articles written about Bob's work while he was working at Los Alamos. They found a staff directory with his name and his phone number and his picture. So, why is everyone lying about who Bob Lazar is? He is still very much open about the work that he achieved and all of the things he's seen. He did a almost 3-hour podcast on Joe Rogan, and you could tell that he gets so worked up and stressed out because he knows that he's kind of coming out with all these facts that put his life in jeopardy. They put him under a microscope. They really kind of take out their pitchforks and torches and come after him. So, but he's risking it all just to be honest and let people know what it is that's going on. I want to know your thoughts. Do you think Bob Lazar is being honest? Do you think he's just a liar looking for his claim to fame? If I had to guess, I kind of think that he's being genuine with it, but it's really hard to tell sometimes. Let me know your thoughts. Next video, I'm really excited. I want to do some more urban legends. I'm really passionate about those things, so I might release a video within a couple days and do one sooner than the 1 week period I'm trying to do. So let me know if there's anything you want me to cover in that one. I appreciate you watching this video. I love you so much. You matter, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.